Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really big question. Are we the masters of this planet, or are we just one small part of it? And, how we answer that question, it really defines our entire relationship with the natural world. That's the heart of environmental ethics.
Okay, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to kick things off with the default setting, the way we've traditionally seen the world. Then we'll look at the cracks in the foundation, explore the science behind the web of life, check out a new perspective, and wrap it all up with a blueprint for balance.
So, this is the question, right? The one that's at the heart of this whole conversation. It's a question that has shaped entire civilizations and defined what progress means for centuries. So let's start by unpacking the answer that's been the default for most of human history.
All right, section 1, the default setting. This is the story where, let's be honest, humanity is the main character, no question about it. So this way of thinking, it's got a pretty fancy name, anthropocentrism. It's a big word, but the idea is actually super simple. Humans come first. From this point of view, the entire natural world is basically framed by how useful it is to us. And this whole humans first thing, it's not just one simple idea. It's really a bundle of powerful beliefs that all fit together. It tells us we're the most important species on the planet, period. It frames nature as a toolbox full of resources for us to use. It says we have the right to control and exploit it. And maybe most importantly, it creates this feeling that we're somehow separate from nature, not a part of it. And look, this idea isn't something we just came up with. It has deep roots, going way, way back. It's woven through ancient religious texts. It got a huge boost during the Renaissance with a focus on human creativity. And then it was totally supercharged by the scientific revolution, which gave us the tools to really start mastering our environment. But, for all the amazing things this view helped us build, it comes with some pretty serious costs. And now we're really starting to see the cracks in that foundation, which brings us to section 2, cracks in the foundation. Okay, so the most glaringly obvious results of a human-first philosophy: widespread environmental damage. I mean, if you see nature as just a pile of resources, then overusing it and polluting it, well, that's not really an accident, is it? It's kind of the logical conclusion. And beyond the physical damage, a lot of critics say this view gives us a kind of ethical myopia. It's like a moral blind spot. It basically makes it impossible for us to see any value in other living things, beyond what they can do for us. It ignores the idea that other species and whole ecosystems might just have a right to exist on their own terms. So if that old model is full of cracks, what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to section 3, the web of life. To find a new way forward, we have to understand how the world actually works. All right, the key idea we need to grab onto here is the ecosystem. And it's not just a place with a bunch of stuff in it. No, it's a dynamic system. It's all about the complex dance, the interactions between all the living and the non-living parts, working together as a single unit, whether that's a tiny little pond or an entire ocean. So you can think of every ecosystem as having two sides of the same coin. On one side, you have the biotic. That's all the living stuff. The plants making food, the animals eating it, and the fungi breaking it all down. And then on the other side, you have the abiotic, the non-living parts. Things like sunlight, water, and all the nutrients in the soil. They all need each other to function. And what powers this whole amazing system? It's a one-way street of energy. It all starts with the sun. Plants soak it up. Then herbivores come along and eat the plants. Carnivores eat them. And finally, when everything dies, the decomposers, the cleanup crew, break it all down and send those nutrients right back into the soil for the plants to use all over again. It's this beautiful, perfect loop. So once you start to see that intricate web, it changes everything. It leads us straight to a totally different way of thinking, a completely different ethical framework. Welcome to section 4, a new perspective. This is ecocentrism. So what is ecocentrism? Well, it's a holistic, nature-centered point of view. It argues that every single part of an ecosystem, from a tiny microbe in the soil to an entire mountain range, has value. And the key word here is intrinsic value. That means things have value just because they exist, not because of what they can do for humans. And here's where you can really see the two side by side. It's a night and day difference, right? On one hand, the human-centered view puts us on top of nature, valuing it like a resource. But the nature-centered view, It puts us inside of nature. We're just one part of a huge interconnected community. It's a shift from thinking of the world as a pyramid with us at the top to seeing it as a web. You know, the pioneering environmentalist Aldo Leopold just summed this up perfectly. He called it the land ethic, and this quote really gets to the heart of it. It's basically a simple moral compass. If your actions help the whole system thrive, they're right. If they hurt it, they're wrong. Simple as that. Okay, let's bring this home. Section 5, a blueprint for balance. So this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we turn this big philosophical idea into real-world action? While the answer that most of the world has landed on is this idea of sustainable development. The core idea is pretty straightforward. Let's meet our own needs today, but do it in a way that doesn't mess things up for future generations. It's about fairness across time. And true sustainability isn't just about planting trees. You really have to think of it like a three-legged stool. You need a stable economy, you need social fairness and equity, and you need environmental protection. They all have to be in balance. Take away any one of those legs, and the whole thing just topples over. So, to get everyone on the same page and turn this big idea into a global action plan, the United Nations created the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs for short. Think of it as a shared to-do list for the entire planet. And these 17 goals, they're all tangled up together. They cover everything from big picture stuff like climate action and protecting wildlife to really fundamental human needs, like making sure everyone has clean water and clean energy. It's a truly comprehensive plan for a more balanced world. Which brings us full circle, right back to where we started. We've gone on quite a journey, right? We started in a world that puts humans at the very center of everything. Then we looked at the science of the web of life and explored a completely different, nature-centered view. And finally, we saw a practical blueprint for how we might find some balance. So after all that, the question is, what about you? What's your environmental ethic? And how is that going to shape the choices you make in our shared future?